Hello Fabric community, my name is Ryan Magitimer. I'm a product manager on the Fabric team, and today is the July edition of the Fabric Monthly Update. We've got a lot of exciting updates for you in Core, Synapse, Data Factory, Data Activator, Community, and of course, Power BI. But before we get into that, have you checked out the Fabric community? It's a very exciting site, and if you're wondering what you can do there, what you can see there is forum boards. You can ask questions, answer other people's questions, get kudos, all that kind of exciting stuff. You can also post, at least in Power BI for the moment, you can post how-tos, you can post community blogs, you can post all the cool stuff you're doing in the galleries, and much, much more in the future. So if you've not checked that out, you can find that at aka.mswac Fabric Community. Now, if you would like to know more about all the features that I'm going to be talking about today, you can find that out in the blog. You can find a link to the blog in the description of this video. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the video, and we're going to start with Core. First up is the Help pane. The Help pane is a smart, feature-aware display for articles about the actions and features available on the current Fabric screen. It's also a search pane that quickly finds answers to questions in the Fabric documentation and community. Moving on to the Monitoring Hub improvements. With the new column options featured in the Monitoring Hub, you can now customize the columns in the job list to check the information you're interested in. The column selections would be memorized automatically. Even if you leave the Monitoring Hub, we'll remember all of the filters and columns for when you come back. Moving on to Admin, effective July 5th, Microsoft began a staged rollout of an update to the Fabric Public Preview setting. After the update, Fabric Public Preview will be on by default unless customers explicitly opt out. With Fabric Public Preview set on, users in your organization will be able to create Fabric items and workspaces attached to a Power BI Premium or Fabric capacity. Next up, we have OneLake. First, OneLake File Explorer is updated with support for switching organizational accounts. With the latest OneLake File Explorer, v1.0.9.0, it's simple to choose and switch between different Microsoft Azure Active Directory accounts, or AAD accounts. This was a highly requested feature for users who work with multiple AAD tenants across multiple organizations, or even within a single organization. Next, we've got item sharing. Starting in July, you could share Fabric items like data warehouses, lake houses, Spark job definitions, Cousteau databases, and KQL query sets with other users or groups. This enables collaboration with users that are not in workspace roles, admins, members, or users that have been granted reshare permissions on a specific item can share it with additional users outside of a workspace. You can share an item by clicking on Share in the item list or within the item. For Data Warehouse, first up we have automatic updates for statistics. SQL statistics are now automatically updated by the query engine. In the Fabric Data Warehouse and Lakehouse SQL endpoint, statistics are a critical tool for helping your query run quickly and efficiently. When a query is executed, the engine will try to collect existing statistics for certain columns in the query and use that information to assist in choosing an optimal execution plan. Next, update from and delete from T-SQL. You can now update and delete data in your target table from an existing source table using the from argument in your update and delete scripts in Fabric SQL respectively. These T-SQL commands allow you to perform merge T-SQL-like operations. Next, we've got optimization in data movements during query execution. The Fabric SQL engine creates a query plan that comprises of execution steps and data move operations. Data move operations ensure that the data required for a query step is ready in the location of its execution. With this new optimization in Fabric SQL, the engine makes data movement in intermediate steps of query execution more balanced and improves overall query performance. No user intervention or code changes required for this optimization. It works out of the box. Moving on to Data Flows Gen 2 for the warehouse. You can now create a new Data Flow Gen 2 directly from your warehouse to ingest data. Simply click Get Data and then New Data Flow Gen 2. The newly created Data Flow Gen 2 artifact will already pre-populate the destination to the warehouse. Zero-copy table clones. We're pleased to announce that zero-copy table clones are now available in public preview. Zero-copy clones are a near instantaneous, metadata-only operation that enables you to easily create a copy of your warehouse tables with no additional costs and minimal overhead. Table clones contain a reference to the source table that the clone was created from. Underlying Parquet files are not duplicated when a clone is created. Under the hood, a fork is created and the clone behaves as an independent table, which can be modified as needed. Any changes made to the source table after it was cloned are not reflected in the clone. Similarly, any changes made to the clone table are not reflected in the source. They are independent of one another. Data warehouse sharing. We're excited to announce that data warehouse sharing is now available in public preview. Data sharing is an essential part of fostering a data-driven culture within an organization. Sharing a warehouse allows you to easily provide read access to enable downstream users to consume this data without making copies of data. dbt support for Fabric Data Warehouse. We're excited to announce the preview of the dbt plugin adapter for Synapse Data Warehouse in Microsoft Fabric. This data platform specific adapter plugin allows you to connect and transform data in Synapse Data Warehouse in Microsoft Fabric. Moving to data engineering, we've got some updates to the load to table feature. Previously, the load to table feature allowed users to load a single file to a new table. As you can imagine, this is very well received by data engineers due to the ease of quickly using simple right-click actions to enable table loading on files. But in addition to that, it was also well received by pretty much everybody because you had a no-code experience, which makes it easy for everybody. With this new release, we brought a couple improvements and several new functionalities. First, we've got folder level load. Users can now load all files under a folder and its subfolders at once by selecting Load to Delta Table after clicking on a folder. This feature automatically traverses all the files and loads them to a Delta table. Second, Load to Existing Table. Users can now choose to load their files and folders to a new or existing table of their choice. If they decide to choose to load to an existing table, they have the option to either append or overwrite the data in the table. And third, source file option. Users can specify if their source file includes the column names as the first row of data and the separator used in it. Lakehouse sharing and permission management. We're announcing a capability for users with admin and member roles to share an individual lakehouse with users without providing them access to the workspace. That will grant access to a specific lakehouse without exposing the other items in the workspace. The users will get access to the shared items through the Data Hub or the link included in the sharing notification mail. With access to a lakehouse, users can access the SQL endpoint and default dataset. That provide features like querying data using T-SQL and building Power BI reports on top of that lakehouse data. Permission management allows users in viewer role to get additional permissions to access lakehouse data using Spark. These features will push data democratization in Fabric even further, enabling more collaborative work. Next, we've got notebook resources. We're excited to announce the notebook resources in Fabric Notebooks. This feature offers notebook users a writable file system space where you can store small-sized files such as code modules, datasets, and images. You can access them with code in the notebook as if you were working with your local file system. The Notebook Resource Explorer provides a Unix-like file system to help you manage your folders and files. You can use common operations such as create, delete, upload, download, rename, duplicate, and search through the UI, and rich built-in snippets are provided through drag and drop. I'm going to hand it over to Piero for a quick demo.
We will demo today the Resource Explorer, a new feature available in the notebook in Fabric. The Notebook Resource Explorer provides a Unix-like file system to help managing files such as code modules, datasets, and images, and I can easily access and use them in the notebook code. The Resource Explorer supports common operations such as create and delete folders, upload, download files, and copy relative paths. In this case, I can use a Python module to help me with my machine learning model. I see that the module has been uploaded to the resource folder, and I can simply drag and drop the module into a notebook cell. Once the cell is executed, I can get a quick overview of the function that it supports. I can now use the function in my code. Try the Resource Explorer and let us know what you think.
Thanks, Piero. Next, we have show cell output after session reconnection for notebooks. Fabric Notebook now supports displaying the running cell output after reconnecting to the original session. This feature allows you to easily recover your ongoing work after accidentally closing the browser or leaving the live session. You don't need to take any additional action to enable it, as this feature is available by default on Notebook. Sharing and permission management for Notebook. Starting now, sharing a single notebook with your colleagues is easier than ever before without having to grant workspace permissions. With the notebook sharing feature, you can collaborate with your team members and share your work conveniently. Additionally, we now support management permissions for each notebook instance. You can easily check and update the permissions of notebooks after they've been shared, ensuring proper access to the notebook. New status bar, also for Notebook. Notebook recently upgraded the design of the status bar. In this upgrade, we have styling refinements as well as functional enhancements. You can easily discover the save option status. You can easily navigate to the failed cell. And you can find more useful information in the floating info card. The diagnostic information is especially helpful when you encounter an issue and need service support. In the next release, we'll add another series of quick access entries on the status bar. So stay tuned for upcoming new features. For data science, we're going to start with new Synapse ML features for large language models. Microsoft Fabric and Synapse ML have featured a variety of new features that have simplified the use of large language models. In our latest release, we've integrated the Azure OpenAI service with the distributed machine learning library, Synapse ML, which makes it easy to use the Spark distributed computing framework to process millions of prompts with the OpenAI service on Microsoft Fabric. The new OpenAI APIs that have been introduced into Synapse ML include OpenAI completion, OpenAI embeddings, OpenAI chat completion, and OpenAI prompt. Moving right along to real-time analytics, we're going to be talking about KQL database. First up is create a continuous data connection from Event Hubs to KQL database. Azure Event Hubs is a big data streaming platform and event ingestion service that can process and direct millions of events per second. Now you can easily stream your Azure Event Hubs data directly into your Fabric KQL database. Create KQL database from MATLAB. In manufacturing and energy verticals, MATLAB is still heavily used. MATLAB is a programming and numeric computing platform used to analyze data, develop algorithms, and create models. we are happy to announce that Fabric now supports the querying of KQL database data directly from MATLAB. Now engineers that are familiar with MATLAB do not need to learn KQL to query the high-performant RTA KQL database, but rather reuse their MATLAB skills to query the data. This functionality is supported by a very lightweight MATLAB connector that securely connects MATLAB to a Fabric KQL database. For Data Factory, we're going to start with Dataflow's Gen 2 and Power Query Editor. We've got a couple of enhancements. For the output destination experience, we have autofix column names during the mapping of columns dialog, as well as autofix data types during the mapping of columns dialog. You can also rename a data flow inside of the Power Query Editor. This is a similar experience to the other artifacts inside of Microsoft Fabric, and you can now change the name of a data flow Gen 2 inside of the Power Query Editor. Moving on to connectors and starting with Google Analytics. The Google Analytics connector has been updated to support Google Analytics Data API, Google Analytics 4. To use this new functionality, use Implementation 2.0 when connecting. Existing connections will not be affected. For Oracle Database, the Oracle connector has been updated to enable Azure AD-based single sign-on functionality through the on-premises data gateway. This will require the July release of the on-premises data gateway. For Azure Databricks and Databricks, Azure Databricks and Databricks connectors have been updated. We added a new DSR handler to Databricks Multi-Cloud, as well as fixed UC not enabled and catalog Spark not found error in legacy code paths using Databricks.contents. Denodo. The Denodo connector has been updated. This new version adds graphical support for the specification of native SQL queries at data source creation time. Equus. The Equus connector has been updated. They removed the beta attribute, retrieve report contents as CSV to remove the row limitation of .xlsx files, optimize handling of facility groups in the navigation tree, show report and or location folders in the navigation tree even if one or the other is empty. Snowflake. The Snowflake connector has been updated to include various performance improvements, such as usage of SQL bind call. Users should experience better performance when running queries. Anaplan. The Anaplan connector has been updated. This version of the Power BI connector for Anaplan includes backend changes for compatibility with ongoing Anaplan infrastructure updates. There is no change to the user-facing connector features. Going on to Gateway and Connections. The SSO option in Cloud Connections added support for single sign-on via Azure AD in Cloud Connections. Currently, this feature is only applied for direct query mode in datasets. However, we plan to progressively extend SSO capabilities to other Fabric workloads in the future. Flag in-cloud connections to allow them to be with Gateway. We have enhanced our security measures to allow users to disable cloud connections to be used with Gateway connections. This precaution prevents the decryption and logging of cloud connection credentials with on-premises systems. On to data pipelines and starting with activities. Teams activity. We're excited to announce that the Teams activity is now available to use in your Data Factory data pipelines. In your pipeline, you can use the team activity to customize a message to send to a Teams channel or a Teams group chat. For example, you can use the Teams activity to send a notification if a pipeline has failed, helping you to better monitor your data integration pipelines. On to productivity, artifact parameterization support. We're excited to share that you can now parameterize Fabric artifacts in your data pipeline. This will allow you to use expressions, functions, parameters, and variables to dynamically refer to your lakehouse or data warehouse allowing you more flexibility when designing your data pipelines. Performance improvements for moving Parquet files to Lakehouse tables. We've made more performance improvements when copying Parquet files to your Lakehouse. Save As support now available for your workspace. Save As is now supported by data pipelines for your Data Factory workspace. When you are in your workspace, you can use the selection menu to save a new copy of your pipeline. This will allow you to build upon or edit existing pipelines without having to completely rebuild a data pipeline. Support column mapping for Lakehouse destination and copy activity. Data pipelines now support column mapping when a Lakehouse is selected as a data destination. In the Mapping tab, you can now add, edit, delete column mappings from your data source to your data destination. Moving to Data Activator, Sample Data. The simulator that generates sample data now includes multiple event streams that you can use to try out building objects and alerts. If you want to try the simulator, there's a tutorial that walks you through it. Check the blog to get that link. Adding multiple streams or properties. The data screen now gives you options to create objects directly from columns in your data streams and give you shortcuts to quickly create properties directly rather than having to create them and manually select the column. Designing triggers and alerts. We've combined the first two steps of triggers, reference to a property and selecting the value from an event, into one step. This means the first thing you'll see in a chart that plots the values you select, helping you understand the data more quickly. It's currently called Property Field Reference, which will be updated to the more user-friendly wording soon. We've added many more functions to the library you can use to build triggers, detect functions, changes from or to, send an event each time the field changes from or to a value or changes at all, is less than, greater than, is false or true, is equal, not equal, sends an event whenever the field meets that condition, becomes less than, greater than, becomes true or false, exits or enters range. Sends an event the first time the field meets that condition. If subsequent events also meet that condition, no further event is emitted. Summarize functions, maximum, minimum, average, count over time. Calculates an aggregation of the values of all events in a time window. Filter functions. We've got filter individual events where the value meets a specific condition. Other events are dropped. This is useful for filtering out error values, such as a sensor that returns -99 for errors. Property filter filters out instances that match the criteria. This is useful if you only want to trigger to fire for certain instances. This will be more useful when you trigger changes described below that are done. Or next, I should say. Detect functions, such as crosses above or changes to, also have options to only trigger when the criteria is met a certain number of times. For example, 3 times an hour. This can help reduce noise in your triggers. Coming soon, we'll have a major change to the way triggers are defined. Early preview feedback showed that detailed step-by-step setup for triggers was too complicated. And we've geared them around selecting 3 things. What you want to monitor, what condition you want to detect, and what action to take. This should make it easier to configure your triggers and make it clear what's needed to get alerts on your data. Moving to trigger lifecycle. Based on feedback to make the management of triggers simpler, we removed the draft concept. You don't need to publish a trigger before you can start it. Triggers are either just started or stopped. Anytime you make changes, you select Update to change that running trigger to use the new values. Testing actions. The test action button confused early users, so we've updated the messaging to clarify that it will send a test to the current user. It's also enabled if there is some data that met the criteria, which is used as sample data in the test message. Teams app. Data Activator can now send alerts to you from our new Teams app. To install it, search the Teams store. A Teams administrator can set it up for everyone in your organization if you need to deliver messages broadly rather than each user installing it themselves. Moving to community, we're going to start with a new course that we just released called Implementing a Lakehouse with Microsoft Fabric. This course is designed to build your foundational skills in data engineering on Microsoft Fabric, focusing on the Lakehouse concept. This course will explore the powerful capabilities of Apache Spark for distributed data processing and the essential techniques for efficient data management, versioning, and reliability by working with Delta Lake tables. This course will also explore data ingestion and orchestration using Dataflow's Gen 2 and Data Factory pipelines. This course includes a combination of lectures and hands-on exercises that will prepare you for work with lakehouses in Microsoft Fabric. Next, we've got Filter by Product for user groups and events. So some of you may have noticed that the names of the user groups page might have changed, but we didn't stop there. We've also added some new filtering for user groups and events. And that filtering is filtering by product. Obviously, Microsoft Fabric is a very diverse service, and you may be interested in some parts of it, but not others, or maybe you're interested in all of it, or maybe you're interested in 90% of it, or 80% of it. Whatever the case may be, you can now easily search by product, including multiple products, and we also have some nifty features that allows you to swap all of those around. So if you want to just see what combinations are out there, you can play with it to your heart's delight. In addition to that, for Data Activator, we have a new community site, and it is now live. So that includes everything between a community forum, alongside all the other products in Fabric. You can find it, of course, on the Fabric community site landing page, aka.mswac Fabric community. But if you want to jump right there, you can go to aka.mswac Data Activator community. If you've got any questions or feedback about Data Activator, you can post them there, and the product team will quickly leap to action to help you. Moving on to Power BI, we're going to be starting with reporting. Smoothed and leader line updates. We are excited to announce the launch of one of our most highly acclaimed features. Report creators can now create smoother line and area charts, providing a more polished look to their visualizations. To access this setting, go to Lines, Shape, Line Type. We have some updates to the on-object interaction in Preview. This month, we added some new functionality and fixed a few bugs. You can now customize the pane switcher by quickly adding new panes directly from the pane switcher without having to go to the View ribbon. You can now also open multiple panes in the pane switcher using Control-Click. And tree map sub-selections are now supported. We're going to hand it over to Roseanne for a demonstration.
We're excited to bring you even more improvements this month for OnObject. We've now added a new plus button to quickly add new panes directly from the pane switcher. This menu also gives you a brief description of what panes are available and what their functions are. Even better, the panes added to the switcher are saved across reports. Configure once and you're done. In addition to the right-click option to open a new pane, it is now even easier to open multiple panes by using Control-Click. Now I can simply hold down the Control key and click on the pane I wish to open side by side. We've also added support for the tree map visual to be able to format specific selections.
Thanks, Roseanne. Moving on to modeling, we've added relationship validation to the data model editing and the service feature to mimic the functionality in Power BI Desktop. When you define the properties of your relationship, the system will automatically validate it and offer appropriate choices for cardinality and cross-filter selections. Moving on to updates in service, we are happy to announce the revamp of our datasets detail page. Now, when you click on a dataset item in the OneLake Data Hub and Workspace view, you will be directed to the redesigned page that not only enhances the look and feel, but also introduces new capabilities for an improved user experience. Additionally, we have made significant improvements to the related items list. It now showcases all the downstream and upstream dependencies for the dataset. This enhancement allows you to easily identify the sources of that dataset, composite model relations, reports, and dashboards associated with it. In mobile, we're adding a long-awaited feature that will help dataset owners and report creators to manage their dataset directly from their phone. We'll hand it over to Michal for a demo.
We are excited to announce that the Power BI mobile app now supports datasets. This long-awaited feature allows dataset owners to refresh their datasets directly from the mobile app. To access your dataset, simply go to a workspace and select Dataset Peel at the top. You will get a list of datasets that you have access to in that workspace. Tapping on a dataset will bring up a dataset info drawer, which includes the name, owner, sensitivity label, and the latest refresh status. From this pane, you can also trigger a dataset refresh directly from your mobile app. If dataset refresh is in progress, the Refresh Now button will be disabled, indicate that you don't need to trigger another one. In addition, to make sure you will never miss a beat when you are on the go, we added a support for push notifications that will be sent to you if a scheduled refresh fails. Tapping on the notification will take you directly to the dataset info drawer, where you will be able to see the error and trigger the refresh again. The push notifications are sent to the same users that are receiving mail notifications. This includes the dataset owner and any other recipient that the owner defined in the dataset setting page in the Power BI online service. With this new ability, the dataset owner will be able to immediately respond to failures and unlock their users who need fresh data in the report.
Thanks, Michal. Next up, in developers, check out our latest article that focuses on techniques to improve the performance of custom visuals. In this article, we discuss the performance improvements we've made in visual rendering and load times. You can find a link to the article in the blog. Finally, we have some exciting new updates for you in the visualization section. New visuals available for you on AppSource this month include Spider Chart for Power BI by Visio Chart, HTML content, light, stacked lipstick bar chart, standard, stacked lipstick column chart, standard, 100% stacked column chart with values instead of percent, standard, dual axis scatter chart, standard, category comparison bar chart, stacked column with percentage and total in label, standard, Likert scale chart for Power BI by Chart Expo. Updated visuals for this month are Drill Down Map Pro and Multi-Target KPI Card. In the Other section, you'll find that Web View 2 is now GA. And that wraps up our updates for this month. Oh wait, did I mention the Fabric community site that you can conveniently find at aka.ms Fabric community? I might have, but just in case, there's that again. Tell us in the comments, what was your favorite feature this month? I would love to hear about it. And also, give us feedback on these videos. We're always trying to improve them, and I love hearing all of that feedback as well. Again, my name is Ryan Magitimer. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.